Hey folks, so boy, it's been like a month and a half since I did an update on this James Bond road race set that I've been restoring for so long now. But we did a whole lot more work on this. It took a lot longer than I was hoping to get some of the parts in that I wanted for this, and so that's why it's taken so long to do a newer video on this. So what we've done, besides doing more work on the rails, doing more work on some shimming and other things that needed to be done to level out all of the joints on the panels. So each tile, there's 6 tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and getting them all to mesh in correctly where you get the least amount of bumps and derailings with the cars. This is a tough track to get that kind of results on because of the way it's contoured, and it's really neat what they tried to do, but it didn't work out as well as they probably had hoped, and of course it ended up putting Gilbert out of business at the time pretty much. But what I've done now, besides all of that, of course in the last video I talked about how I replaced the old incandescent lights with these individually blinking LEDs. I think they look a lot nicer. What we did is we added the 3-wire controllers, these DeFalco controllers. I got a blue one and a red one to match with the DB5 and the Mustang, just for fun. Looks good. The braking is enabled, but of course you know that with those old pancake motors, these are the Aurora chassis, by the way, that these ones have. They're not Gilbert chassis. Those old pancake motors are not going to respond much with braking effect. So on these I've got the braking set at full, but it really doesn't do anything. On the other side with the speed control, I've got them set way down low. You really don't need a high speed setting on these. So these are set just really low, and the brakes are set on high. And they really, like I say, the brakes don't really do much. So we've got the 3-wire controls here. I've still got the original hookups for the original controllers, which are the old Gilbert James Bond controllers. We could still use them if we wanted, so I wanted to maintain that functionality. I don't really think anybody would want to use these at this point, not with these nice controllers. And the DeFalcos really do make a massive difference in the ability to control these cars and keep them from having problems on this track. All right, so that's what we've done. The other thing we did is here with the old 61-year-old power supply. I think I had mentioned in the last video that I had thrown a little cap filter on the terminals here. Well, it kept getting in my way, so I ended up taking that cap filter out, and I took this transformer case apart and installed that cap filter inside. So it's more or less permanent, but it's also invisible. It's out of the way, and it does its job in enabling these LEDs to keep blinking when you're using the cars. I think I mentioned last time, without that filter, you start running the cars, you get a lot of noise on the lines, and the LEDs malfunction and stop blinking. With that filter in place, they continue blinking, and it works nicely. So we've done all of that, and added a few signs, a few little trees, stuff like that. And now let me see if I can do a decent job of running these cars. So one of the things that we were having issues with was just way too much power going to the cars. They're going too fast all the time. They derail. They just have a lot of problems. So I needed to slow that down. So on the tracks, on the positive rails, which here's the positive rail on this one, here's the positive rail on that one, I've installed inside here two resistors. In testing the overall resistance on each lane, I found that I had a little less resistance on the outside starting lane, which is the Mustang here in this case, overall. And so in putting some resistors in line, that's on these black lines that go to the positive on the tracks, on the lanes, I found that I needed a little bit of resistance on those lanes, but a little less resistance on the DB5 lane, because it tended, this lane, which is the inside starting lane, had a little more resistance overall. And so I was trying to even out the speed of the cars, and so I ended up adding a 12 ohm resistor on the Mustang's lane, and just a 10 ohm resistor on the DB5's lane. And those are 5 watt resistors, by the way, big fat resistors. They're underneath here. And there, another thing I wanted to do is I wanted to protect this old 61-year-old power supply. And I did open this up, inspected everything. It looks beautiful inside. The transformer in there, just for its age, looks beautiful, but I still wanted to protect it. So I put kind of an old style breaker in here, and this is I tried some temperature breakers, and they just weren't working well enough, so I ended up putting a little more expensive magnetic hydraulic breaker in here. But it's kind of a old-fashioned looking toggle breaker, which it doesn't affect the LEDs. They're on a separate loop, but it will affect the cars. And it's a 400 milliamp, and it's perfect because the cars maximum under load take about 300 to 310 milliamps. That's under maximum load for the cars, with both cars running. If you exceed that, of course, if the cars get hung up somewhere or something like that, if the track gets shorted out, it'll exceed that 400 milliamp threshold and kick off that breaker. So we've got that specifically to protect that old transformer as best as we can. And so with all of that done, what it allows for is to have better control of the cars, and it allows also enough energy for both cars to get a decent start. I'm going to try and show this, but I am no good at controlling 2 cars at once. But what we'll see is that, both cars, yeah, there we go, nice little crack up there. Both cars start up nicely. All right, they're ready to roll. So what I'll show here now is, let's get these cars back in their starting positions, and I'll show one at a time, and I'll try to drive correctly. I'm not the best driver on this course, even with all the practice I've had on this thing. Boy, it still is a challenging track. Oh, one thing I'd like to show on the cars, what I did, because these cars are so unstable on this track, I made some changes to their pickup shoes, made a few little bends. I also here filed out those front slots to give them a little more reach and depth of reach on the track, because this track is so contoured and uneven, and the cars would just easily lose their connection and stop running. There still is a couple of spots that are so tilted that if you slow down at the wrong time, the car will stop. Like here's one of the spots right here, and I think there's another spot over here, a couple of spots like that where you'll run into that. And another thing I did, hopefully this is being seen, I put in some neodymium magnets. So I've got a little traction magnet right back here, similar to what you'll see on some of the Auto World and Tomy cars these days. But I also put some up front to try to hold that front end down a bit. So I've got 2 little neodymiums right under the pickup shoes here and right back here, and those help to hold that front end down. And the Mustang's the same way, by the way. But believe me, that does not minimize the challenge that these cars are to keep on the track. I think the most I've been able to keep a car on is like 5 laps or something, and then I end up derailing somewhere along the way. But here we go. I'll do the blue car first, and then we'll do the red car and see if I can keep it on the track long enough that you can see how it traverses on this course. So yeah, right away I'm gonna hose that up, right? So let me get that out again. Oh my goodness. I'll try to do a better job this time. When you drive this track properly, it works very nicely, but boy, oh boy, fun. Let's try that again. Oh, come on. I can do this, I promise. Try it again. And you always need to point these 2 lane switchers in when you first start a race. And that's another thing, by the way, I'll mention just right now real quickly, that these, when the cars come past these, they don't always flip properly. So sometimes you're getting the car coming on that same branch, multiple times before this thing will finally flip properly, and then it'll go on the next branch the next time around. It's just how it works. Yeah, real good. Here we go, come on. No. You gotta give it enough gas to get going. And of course, I'm just going to fail miserably here. And let's see if we can get it to. Yeah. There we go. Come on. I'm not sure why I'm having a problem there. Usually that's okay right there. But let's try it again. There's the blue car, and as you can see, if you control it right, here we go again. If you control it right, it's fine, but one little mistake, that was a close one. So there's the blue car, as you can see. I mean, this race is doable, but and then I was a little fast going up that hill. It's constant control, so you really got to drive these cars carefully when you're running on this. And let's do the red one. See if I can do any good with that one. There we are. Yeah, there we go. I didn't start off right. You got to give it enough gas, or it just won't even start off right. So there. Oh. Yeah, let's try it again. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong there. Let's try it one more time. See if we can get this to cooperate. And I'm going to make sure that these tabs are pushed down properly. I'm not sure where I'm going wrong there. Let's try it again. Come on. There we go. And there's the red Mustang. Oh, yeah, I went too fast on that curve. That's another thing I'll mention is you notice how that just got stuck there. That's a thing that happens with these cars, and the reason is the pickup shoes, because they're narrow, and these are the standard, O-gauge, Aurora style pickup shoes. I did get some new shoes, by the way, from a fella on eBay, and those shoes, they work nicely enough, but on those ones too, you have to file them out. You have to make a few changes to the bends and get them to reach properly. And another thing I did is I pulled out the old Aurora style springs and put in some heftier, a little more rigid springs in there that help to keep those just a little tighter on there. But what happens is in so many places you've got these very unique, I'll say, crossings of all of the rails here, and in various places those pickup shoes they'll get pinched, and then the car will get stuck, or it'll cause it to jump off the rail, something like that. So boy, I think what would be perfect is if we could find pickup shoes that are a little wider at the front, you know, give you and maybe a little bit better, more gentle bend that would give them a little easier transition when they hit certain parts. And it's especially at these rail junctions, which you've got right here, and you got other rail junctions over here in this area. So on tiles 1 and on tile 5, you've got the biggest problem with those junctions. And that's how you can get around that, would be with a little bit better shoes. I wish there was somebody out there that knew, you know, how to, I guess, manufacture this kind of thing. They had the tools and equipment and materials to do a better pickup shoe for this specific track. But of course, it's such a niche thing that probably nobody would want to spend the time on that. But if anybody knows somebody that's able to do that, I'd sure like to hear about it. So we could improve that experience there. But that's what we've done now. This is it's running as good as I could possibly get it at this point, and I'm very, very happy with it. You see, I've got some other O-gauge cars here. They don't run real well on this track at all. They're a little too wide. The standard Aurora cars, you know, these Gilbert bodies are pretty much made to work with this track. I can get these working, but they, you know, they hit various points because their width, and they have problems. These run way better on regular Aurora track, which I'll do a future video. I do have a supermodel motoring track. It's actually a double track that I have with the bridge and everything on it. And we'll do a video on that in the future and run some of these Aurora cars. And I have a bunch of these that I've gotten like off of eBay and Mercari and other places because I love them. And I have some that are originals like these, and I have others that are reproductions from various folks that do that sort of thing out there. And that's what we've got for today. So if you have any input, I'd be glad to hear any suggestions, especially on those pickup shoes. That would be great. If we could get better pickup shoes, I think we could have a much better experience on this track. So hope you enjoyed this video, and hope to hear from you. If you have any good suggestions or good criticisms, certainly throw them in the comments. Thanks a lot.